Just because they didn't say yes today doesn't mean they can't say yes tomorrow. A lot of times when you're in a sales negotiation, um, it's normal for customers to say, I got to think about it, right? You do whatever you can to try to close the deal then and there on the spot. But sometimes whatever you do is just not going to make them say yes that same day. But that doesn't mean the sale is over. That doesn't mean that you should stop or quit or say, you know what, forget about it. You still have to pursue. This is what is called a follow-up. Any unsold opportunity that does not sell that same day can still be sold tomorrow, can still be sold a week from now, can still be sold 6 months from now, or maybe even a year from now. You just never know. As a salesperson, you're not supposed to assume that it's over. You're supposed to keep trying. And that's the difference from someone that always hits their numbers and their quota versus someone that is inconsistent and they might have very high months and then they might follow it up with a low month. Because they're not following the steps every single time. They do it sometimes, sometimes they don't. Okay? You need to make the customer feel comfortable. Okay? If they're not willing to make a decision today, and you know that, you know what, I've tried everything, then you have to let your foot off the gas. Okay? It's important to realize that as a salesperson, because if you don't, and you keep on pushing, and you keep on urging this customer to buy something that they don't want to buy, eventually he's just going to get fed up. And he's going to look at you as a pushy salesman that just wants to close a deal and get out of the house. What you're supposed to explain to the customer is that you want to earn their trust. You want to earn their business, but you want to do it the right way. You're just not there to make a deal and walk out. That's not how it works. You really have to look at them as a friend. You really have to put yourself in their shoes and understand that the decision that they're making might be expensive for them. So instead of making the decision for them, you need to be able to guide them into making the decision. Okay? And that's when asking the right questions and finding out what they actually want is going to come in handy for you. Because there's 3 reasons why a customer will say yes to you. You gave them all the information they needed. They trust you. And they like the price that you gave. Okay? When those 3 things align, and they know they need your product or they know they need your service, 9 times out of 10, they're going to go with you. Unless something falls through from another person that decides to step in that you had no idea about and tries to cancel the deal. But for the most part, when you explain everything, when they trust you and when they understand the value that they're getting and they like the price, they're going to say yes. They're going to say yes. And that happens when a customer is ready to make the decision. Okay? But if psychologically that customer is not ready to make a decision that day, then it's fine. I don't have to go out of character and try to push someone into doing something that they don't want to do. And I tell the customer this directly. I like to be genuine and I like to tell the customer straight up. Look, for example, John, I don't expect for you to make a decision today unless you're 100% sure that you want to move forward. And I wait and see what he says. Usually when I say that, they put their guard down. Okay? Because the whole time they're thinking, wow, this guy's trying to sell me something. This guy's trying to sell me something. This guy's trying to sell me something. And I don't want to buy. I don't want to buy. I don't want to buy. That's what they're thinking. So you got to be able to bring their guard down and help them understand that you're not just there to make a sale and move on. You're there because you care. You're there because you want to solve their problem. You're there because you want to make sure they get the result that they're looking for. Simple. And they got to be able to trust you. Because if the trust is not there, if they're not believing what you're saying, if they're not in tune with what you're saying, and if they're not doing things like nodding their head or saying yes to things that you're saying, that could be a problem. Or it may not be a problem because there are some customers that don't really show emotion. You might just be talking the whole time and they might not say anything. It's just who they are as a person. Some people don't really like to socialize. They like to hear what you have to say. And after you're done with your sales presentation, they might just say, yeah, let's do it. They don't want to go too much in the back and forths. And, they don't want to show their emotion or let you know what they're thinking about. There's just some people like that. They're more on the reserve side. So you don't really know what this person is thinking. Is it a yes? Is it a no? But it's important for you to bring their guard down at all times. You got to make them feel comfortable. You know what I mean? This is not like a whole straight sales pitch that you're just drilling into their head and trying to push them to buy something that they really don't want to buy. First you get to know them on a personal level. After you get to know them as a personal level and make friends with them, then you start earning their trust. Okay? Once you start earning their trust, then you can start getting into the negotiations and start talking numbers. You don't want to jump too fast into talking numbers when you haven't even built the trust yet. When you don't even know who this person is and what they like to do and what they don't like to do. These are things you need to figure out. And these are just regular social skills. You know what I mean? Just like you meet any stranger on the street. You know what I mean? You got to be able to catch that person's wave and understand some hobbies they like, what they like to do, what they don't like to do. These are all things that is just going to help you build a better relationship. You know what I mean? And it's normal. In sales, you're going to come across people where you naturally have a better connection with. You're going to meet some people that you don't naturally have a better connection with. It's just how the game goes. You're not going to get along perfectly with every person. There's millions of people, millions of different personalities, and you just got to be a chameleon and be able to blend in with each person. That's one of the key things that you need to be as a salesperson. You need to be able to blend in, okay? Not just work with certain type of crowd or certain type of people with certain type of personalities. You need to be able to understand everybody and know the overall psychology behind it, because you're going to be meeting a lot of people and you're going to be getting a lot of rejections, right? But you need to figure out what you're doing wrong and what you could improve on. And that's something that I do as a salesman even today. I write down my flaws. I tell myself, hey, Art, this is what you could have done better. Next time, instead of saying this, you say this. These are important things to understand as a salesperson, because you're never going to be perfect. And every day that you wake up, you have to realize that you're going to have some flaws that you need to work on. Okay? A lot of this, guys, is mental. A lot of it is mental, and it's how you feel. The way you feel affects how you perform. When you feel good, when you look good, when you smell good, you perform better. It's just human nature. You know what I mean? It's something that mentally, overall, you just do better when you feel better. There's nothing special to it. It's just human psychology. You know what I mean? So when you wake up and you're having a bad day, most likely that's going to affect the leads that you're going to have that day, who you talk to, who you meet, what deal you're trying to close. It's probably going to affect it if you're having a bad day. That's why it's so important, guys, to mentally try to stay sharp at all times. Okay? A really good salesman, a really good experienced salesman understands that they need to be able to flip that switch. They need to be able to flip it on the spot. Even if they're having a bad day, they got to turn it into a good day somehow. You're going to have problems throughout life. Okay? But you don't want to transfer that emotion to a customer. You don't want them to feel that. Because they don't deserve to feel what you're feeling, which is bad that day. They just met you. They want to get to know you. They want to buy something from you. So it's important for you to be a professional and mentally try to stay consistent every single day. Because that's what's going to separate you from doing really well instead of just being average. You know, these are the important things that, you need to take into consideration. If you're already in sales, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not in sales and you're trying to get into it, you must understand that, it's going to be a roller coaster. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. It's just part of the industry. And any salesperson that says, you know what, I'm doing great all 12 months out of the year, I don't have any problems, I hit my numbers exactly the same every single time, every single month, that's all BS. This is coming from someone that was installing about $500,000 for 12 months straight. Why I was doing that? Because I was mentally in the right place. I was feeling good. The momentum was there. But there was times where I lost the momentum. But after doing it for a while, I understand that I need to flip this switch back. You know what I mean? I need to get that momentum back. I need to generate that pipeline that's going to make me get more sales. I need to do all these things. Because if I don't, I'm just spiraling down a rabbit hole. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole that's going to put me towards a bad lane. I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be on the uprise. I want to do everything possible to get a sale. Once I get a yes, psychologically, it's going to make me feel better. The next customer I go, I'm going to have way more confidence. I feel like I'm going to close the deal before I even walk in. And then if I sell that, then I'm 2 in a row. Then I'm pushing 3. Then I'm pushing 4. Then you're automatically feeling better. You're smiling more. You're talking more. Your hand gestures are better. Everything gets better because you realize that when a customer says yes, you go from 0 to 1,000. You know what I mean? Just like anything else in life. When you're struggling to do something and you try it over and over and over again, and then eventually it works and it happens, you feel euphoric, you feel amazing, you feel confident, you feel good, and you just want to keep doing it. That's when the dopamine kicks in. And that's sales for you guys. It's a dopamine roller coaster. You're going to go up, you're going to go down, you're going to go back up, you're going to be in the middle, you're going to go down, you're going to go up. So look at it as a stock chart. The S&P 500. It goes up, it goes down. It goes up, it goes down. It stays in the middle, it goes down. Then it goes up, goes in the middle, goes back up. Every single time, every single day, the numbers are going up and down. But that's where you have to zoom out and look at it from a further perspective. You don't look at it in a day, in a week, in a month. You grade yourself yearly, or you can grade yourself quarterly and see how you did. So Very important that you consider these things and always look at yourself in the mirror and try to be better than who you were yesterday, because this industry can humble you really quickly. And I mean really quickly. You can be the best performer and then you can just tank and be the worst performer. And you'll be trying to figure out why that happened. Like, why did I just go from the best all the way to worst? But you don't let that get to your head. You follow a system and you repeatedly don't skip steps. Because once you start skipping the steps, it becomes a disaster. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want to always think about, you know what, why did I not do this? Or why did I do this and not do that? Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. It's better to do something instead of not do it. When you have something on your mind, when you want to share something with a customer, don't hold back. Express yourself. Just express yourself. They're human. They want to see what you're feeling, so you want to keep it natural. Every time that I've held something back from a customer, I always regretted it, because it's something that was monumental in the lead that really could have helped me actually sell it. That's why now I just speak my mind and I stay composed. I don't get rattled. Anything they say, it doesn't rattle me. I just try to sympathize, empathize with them, put myself in their shoes and understand, you know what, this is a big decision. It's a big decision and there's no reason for me to get mad if they say no. Because if it was the other way around, I would probably say no. Why am I just jumping and saying yes to a person that's trying to sell me a product or service? And I haven't even shopped around. I don't know what's out there. So that's one of the reasons why I say comfort. They got to be comfortable buying that product or service from you. If they're not, then there's always going to be something called buyer's remorse. They might say yes to you, but something in the back of their mind just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? You want them to intentionally say yes themselves. You want it to come out of them. You don't want to force a yes out of them, if that makes sense. Right? That emotion needs to come out of them. They need to feel that, okay, you know what? I want to move forward. What is it going to take for us to get this job done? You want that to come out of them. They need to show signs of it, but you need to make them want to do that, right? And if they don't want to do that, you need to ask them questions like why. You need to figure that out. But at the end of the day, it's a sprint. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. There's no reason for you to get too high or too low in this business. You just keep going. And at the end of the day, it's not even about the money. It's about you as a person, loving what you do, trying to help another person, trying to be genuine, and trying to do business the right way. That's what it comes down to. And if you have that trait, and if deep down inside you're a good person and you're trying to help people, then you're going to do great. But there's a lot of good people that just can't close deals because they're not closers. So it's important to actually be a closer. That's when a great sales guy is much more superior than a bad sales guy, because they're closers. You can rely on them to get the job done. All right, guys, that sums up this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're gonna have some more content for you guys, and I hope this video helps you guys a lot. Thank you.